All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And as you can see, I have the great pleasure and honor of welcoming my good friend Matt Geiger from Verity Metals back to the show. Those of you folks who have been listening for a while know that Matt and I are very well connected. We started our relationship several months back, and every show we do, I really do enjoy the conversation, and the audience does likewise. So, Matt, great to see you on this lovely Sunday. How you doing today, buddy?
Team USA, baby. Team
Yeah,
USA.
yeah,
Gold.
gold.
Jack Hughes got his teeth knocked out, came back and scored the game winner.
That was amazing. Yeah, I actually just saw the clip briefly before I sat down to do the show with you today. So that's absolutely amazing. I believe it was, what was it, 46 years to the day
46 years to the day.
of the Miracle hockey team back in 1980, and that's actually a really good movie. The version they did with I believe it was Kurt Russell who played the head coach. Um, Disney movie, but either way, it really well done. Remember seeing that years back. So it,
What was funny was Wayne Gretzky used to talk about how he had the players from the USSR, at his house, and they'd be downstairs drinking beers, and it's just funny.
oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, it's hockey's one of those sports that I didn't really play it as a kid. I played like roller hockey, that's bullshit. But
I played
hockey's
ice
like,
hockey. I'm a hockey player. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes, they were the ones talking about how great the United States is at the Olympics, whereas these other, pardon my language, fucking clowns in skiing, are bashing the United States. I love our USA boys.
Absolutely. And what a great way to stick it to Canada in the process, right? I think
They have
the
a
White
great,
House.
I mean,
White
what a
House.
team! What a team with Canada. I mean, those guys. I mean, I have total respect for them. But that Celebrini is just total stud. You got to give that guy all the props. He's going to be a complete superstar. He already is.
Oh yeah.
But way to go, USA.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful way to wake up this morning and to get that news. To be honest with you, I really don't follow sports all that much for
I
obvious
know.
reasons at this point, but Olympic hockey is, and certain exceptions, I suppose, can be made from time to time, but it's definitely a,
It's the one exception that I make is hockey. Like when they had the pride bullshit, Ovechkin's like, I want nothing to do with this. I want nothing to do with this. And I love the hockey spirit because I think it's a pure spirit. I think it's something that doesn't get interfered with politically correct culture.
well, actually, now that you mention it, I hadn't really thought about that, but it's true because you see, I mean, obviously the NFL and the NBA are rife with the woke nonsense.
NHL has not. They've tried from the the higher ups, but the players don't put up with that stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting because I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, hockey seems to be somewhat separate from that, all that craziness. And
But I
don't really know
digress.
too much. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's a nice way to kind of warm up for the conversation here.
Absolutely.
But indeed, there's a lot of stuff going on. Matt and I get together about once a month, and there are a lot of topics that we're going to discuss today. We're going to touch upon, well, I would say probably 3 or 4 major issues during the course of the show today. At least that's what I'm planning on. But once we sit down and we start our conversation, we never really quite know where it's going to go. But in terms of a general format, we're going to begin as we typically do on our shows together with an analysis of what's going on in the world of precious metals. And we're going to have Matt provide some commentary pertaining to the larger financial picture as the exposure operation continues to unfold simultaneously. What does this all mean for everybody out there in terms of their finances, and specifically with regard to precious metals? And for those of you who are new to the channel, Matt Geiger is an absolute expert in all things precious metals. He's been a fundamentally important member of my network, as I alluded to just a few moments ago. He's been supporting members of this audience in getting the best possible deals, whether they're looking to simply acquire physical metals or whether they're doing or an IRA rollover or anything in between, this is the guy that you want to talk to. And I really,
if I may interject, we want to take care of you. You know, in other words, you go out to these jokers out of, you know, companies out of Los Angeles and whatnot. We want to take care of you. I'm one of the audience. I'm an anon. I'm a guy who's been following this stuff since early 2018. You know, I want to help our people. I want everybody to get a great deal, a win-win across the board. You know, so I just want to make that very clear.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason that I decided to partner with you after we had a brief conversation several months ago. I always mention Joe and Scott. Got to give them the hat tip. They were the ones who introduced us. But it's been a wonderful working relationship. And Matt is indeed an anon, as you're going to see throughout the course of the conversation. If you've listened to previous shows, this isn't just an infomercial about precious metals. I like to pick his brain on that topic, certainly, but we're going to discuss a wide range of issues as well. So a little bit later in the show, Matt is going to discuss the best ways to get in touch with him in order to get that process started, if you haven't already. And I also feel like I should mention, and I've done this before, but there have been quite literally dozens of members of the audience who have done business with Matt, a great percentage of whom have actually come back to do subsequent deals because they were so satisfied with the level of customer service, the pricing that they got, and the overall, the level of professionalism that Matt offers his clients is unparalleled. So that's where we're going to begin the show today. And then we're going to pivot into talking about some other recent developments since we last spoke. Obviously, I mean, nowadays we get about a month of news per day. So there's no way we can cover everything that's transpired, but certainly of particular importance are the Epstein files, the arrest of former Prince Andrew. We're going to touch upon that a little bit. The ongoing exposure operation with regard to Israel, which of course is connected to Epstein, and also the Tucker Carlson interview of Mike Huckabee, which was very eye-opening. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about all that, and we might even take some questions from the chat as well, time permitting. So it should be a great show for you folks. If you're watching on Rumble, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching on X, that would be the heart button, although I do understand that X is having some issues with streaming. So I don't know if this is actually going to be presenting on X the way it normally would. But either way, those positive affirmations really are of the utmost importance in terms of boosting the show to a larger audience. And that is always our objective, whether it's just in terms of spreading information or knowledge about precious metals in this case. So make sure you take a moment to do that. And also make sure you take a moment to follow my channel if you're not doing so already on Rumble, which is my main platform. It's absolutely free and really easy to join Rumble, to set up an account. And that way you can hit the thumbs up button. You can leave a comment. You can interact with us on the chats. This is a live show. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in on a Sunday. So let's go ahead and get started here, man. The first subject that I thought would be a nice segue into kind of giving you the floor and talking about precious metals and what's going on is something I believe that we touched upon during our last conversation, at least peripherally, having to do with the tariffs. We've been waiting for a long time for the Supreme Court to make a decision on whether or not Trump's emergency, it's the International Emergency Economic Powers Act tariffs would be held up essentially. And what happened was, I believe it was on the 20th, a couple of days ago, there was a 6-3 ruling striking these down. But despite the setback, as most of us Anons anticipated, and Trump and his team indeed foreshadowed, basically what they did was they just pivoted and Trump quickly announced that he would impose new tariffs under a different legal authority. Initially, it was a 10% global tariff via the Trade Act of 1974. And then later he raised it to 15% in follow-up statements on social media. And he framed this as continuing his trade agenda undeterred, vowing that countries who are dancing won't be dancing for very long. So we have, I believe it's Section 122. I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act provided that immediate workaround for a broad temporary global tariff. And Trump's overall strategy continues to draw from a much broader legal toolkit, if you will, primarily Sections 301 and 232. of the 1974 Trade Act. So having said all that and just set the table here, we've discussed tariffs in the past. Did this decision surprise you? How does this affect the overall economic picture, and specifically what impact does this have on precious metals? I mean, it seems as if we basically, the Supreme Court yet again put up another speed bump, and Trump and his team just kind of maneuvered their way around it. So it looks as if the tariffs are here to stay. And so with that, Matt, why don't you comment on that a little bit, and we can use that as a nice little on-ramp to discussing what's going on with precious metals.
Amy Coney Barrett, doesn't she look a little bit like Joe Biden? Is that his daughter? Was that his daughter that died in that car crash?
Oh, I honestly, I've never even heard that.
That looks like Joe Biden to me. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. In other words, yeah, that's his daughter. I think that's Joe Biden's daughter. To me,
Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah,
really?
That's her.
Okay.
So this whole story of Joe Biden, who, by the way, was executed in 2020 for high treason. Okay, you in your audience knows this. I mean, who the hell am I talking to? I'm talking to a bunch of geniuses in your audience. This is Joe Biden's daughter. So what did we really expect? Trump brought this woman in years ago, right? They made it like, oh, she didn't even have a notepad when she was getting appointed, and she's this, and they really propped her up, the media. So you could tell that this woman is clearly deep state. We know the story with John Roberts. I mean, look into the adoption of his two children. The guy's just a complete scumbag. He's the one who signed off on the illegal FISA warrants to spy on Trump, right? Without any evidence, clearly no evidence. So these guys are implicated. So I think what Trump's doing is he's now putting the Supreme Court in the spotlight. And this is great because we have to, we can't move forward without a judicial system, right? He could go take these people to trial right now. And we talked about this on previous episodes. He could bring these people to trial right now, but we'd get nowhere. We'd be back at square one, and it would ruin the case, right? This is the whole reason why this is where we're going to go military. This is where we're going to go from civilian to military, where we bypass these people. I'm not worried about the tariffs. You want to talk about tariffs? How much did Trump raise in the last year that he's been president? $25 trillion? $25 trillion. What's the income tax revenue? $4.5 trillion?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
$25 trillion. Checkmate. Trump just showed you that this country, we don't need to be paying taxes. We don't need, they'll pay us. Everybody will pay us. And that's the beauty of it. He's showing us the way. Trump is showing the way. And it's like, how do people not put it together? He literally raised in tariffs and new investment in the country because, of course, people what do countries want to do? They want to avoid the tariffs. So what do? They bring business to the country. They bring it over here so they avoid the tariff. Trump is showing you that not only could he make an absolute fortune, okay, but he's going to be able to pay off these debts. He's going to be able to pay down everything. The problem is that he's going to have to devalue the dollar, right? He wants to devalue the dollar to be able to handle these debts. So what's that going to do? That's going to push gold and silver prices up. We saw this big drop in silver price, and I know some people bought it and well over $100, and now they're buying it 90s, whatever. Who cares? You've got your supply. That's the point. Once this stuff starts to become much more apparent, you're going to start seeing silver shortages. I can see it already. There's already delays. You have probably a week to 2 week delay on getting your silver right now. Mm-hmm. Your audience understands this. People have gotten it, thank God, right? But the idea is Trump is showing us that through tariffs, through smart business practices, they said, oh, Trump, he has no political experience. F you. I want a businessman. I want a guy that's got total killers, right? When he used to talk about his total killer negotiators, people that you wouldn't want to have dinner with. They're terrible people, but they love the country, right? These are the people that are working on our behalf right now, and it's glorious. It's glorious.
Absolutely. And as people are piling into the chat, you can see here I'm telling you the truth, folks. People really love working with Matt. I see these types of comments all the time.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jamie, a repeat customer. We also have Foxy Blue here leaving a comment for Matt. So you know, I tell you folks no lies, honestly. I only partner with the best, and Matt certainly is incredible at what he does. So yeah, I mean, I was never concerned at all about the tariff issue. I mean, obviously, if we saw the tariffs go away completely and this entire concept of an external revenue service collapse, then that would be of concern. But as far as the Supreme Court and as far as the all of these central casting individuals who are putting up these roadblocks for optical reasons in order to achieve exactly what you just laid out, I mean, I haven't been the least bit concerned about it, because once again, if you have that solid understanding, that basis of understanding that we're watching a scripted movie, that the white hats are in control, and that essentially what we're experiencing right now are the optics that are being propped up through this continuity of government operation, everything else really kind of just flows from that. Not to suggest that at certain points in time, the optics can't get confusing. Sometimes we can get sucked into the movie because it has to be very convincing in order for it to be effective. But this was no surprise to me when this conversation started. People were in my audience were asking, well, what do you think is going to happen with the tariffs? And Trump seems to be concerned that the Supreme Court is going to strike them down. And there was all types of poly-market odds that the Supreme Court was going to rule against them. This is going back months. And I said to people, just you watch and see what happens. Doesn't matter what the Supreme Court does. I mean, I didn't know whether they were going to rule against him or whether they were going to rule in favor of him. But the one thing I did know is that there were going to be immediate plan B options, plan B, plan C, plan D, et cetera, and that this economic model is not going away. So as you pointed out, trillions and trillions. Is it actually 25 trillion? I hadn't seen that number.
It was 22 trillion in November. So I'm estimating 25 trillion by now, maybe even much more.
That's in comparison to how much does the federal government take in for income tax? You threw that out there.
$4.5 trillion a year. So let's call 5 trillion.
Wow.
So he 5x'd it.
Times five. Incredible. And by the way, just for folks, and I see,
and this is with the restrictions. This is with everybody pushing back against them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tiger Milk commented on this as well. This is actually what I was just going to mention here, is that back during the quote unquote campaign, when Trump was going around talking about tariffs, he was mentioning President McKinley. And really moving back to that golden age, that previous golden age in American history in the late, They had
no idea what to do with the money. They had no idea McKinley had no idea what to do with the money. It was so much money. They had no idea what to do with it.
Correct. Yeah. So post-Civil War, all the way up really through the turn of the century, right around the time when everything went sideways, and we had the 1913, that was a pivotal year. My good friend Mike King just wrote a book, apologies to JP Morgan, surrounding 1913, the establishment of the Federal Reserve, the income tax, and also the creation of the Anti-Defamation League. And then very shortly thereafter, we were off to the races with World War I and then subsequently World War II. So everything shifted. But prior to that, prior to the income tax and the Federal Reserve, this is the model that we had. We essentially had an external revenue service. And as Matt pointed out, there was so much money, they didn't know what to do with it. And this is exactly where Trump is leading us once again. So before we pivot, and we always we always come back to the topic of precious metals later in the show, but I just wanted to kind of underscore this point here for folks, because and Matt sort of commented on it, but I want him to elaborate just a little bit more. So, people look at the charts and they see gold at 5,100. They see silver at $85, and they think, and naturally, whenever there's a bull run going on, there's always the FOMO. People want to get on board. They don't want to miss the train, etc. But then after a while, there's usually a market correction. Things kind of cool off a little bit. And then people look at it and say, well, gee, I feel like I missed the train. I could have bought silver and gold at such cheaper prices. Why is that flawed thinking, Matt? I mean, why is right now actually a very good time? I would argue just as perfect of a time to get invested in precious metals as it was months ago, given where we're headed. I mean, either in terms of investing or doubling down on your precious metals investment. Why should people avoid that?
I'm still buying. I'm still buying. You know, I have people coming in. I'm paying them top dollar. You know, I don't even, honestly, when people come in, you could be somebody locally here in Glendale, Arizona. I literally will pay somebody spot price for whatever bar, whatever it is. That's unheard of. Dealers are paying like for like 100-ounce bars. There's other companies that sell these 100-ounce bars. They're paying 10, 15 below spot. I'll pay you spot price for it because I want the inventory. You know, Eagles, I pay absurd amount over spot. I'm probably paying $5 to $10 over spot to somebody for silver American Eagles right now. You know, let me ask you, Ben. When does a product that you you have a 1 to 2 week wait, right? And the price is going down. When does that happen? When does that happen?
Doesn't.
Like you have a 1 to 2 week wait period to get your stuff, and the price went down. It makes no sense. It's all market manipulation. Silver's going to go off. It's going to go to the moon. This stuff. This is why you want to put your money in it. It's because it's a currency conversion. It has nothing to do with rate of return or anything like that. Forget rate of return. It has to do with getting your money out of the banks, out of the markets, and out of the dollar. Everything needs to be restructured. And I think when we see these Supreme Court cases, right? I think when we see, you know, the Supreme Court saying, "Oh, well, you can't charge tariffs on other countries," it's a sign of things to come. It's a sign of Trump putting the right kind of pressure on them, where they have to make these really obvious and very dumb decisions in front of everybody. Where it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to go against what Trump's doing? What are you, in favor of the communist Chinese? Because you're effectively supporting China when you go against what Trump's doing, right? When the Supreme Court just ruled against Trump, you're supporting China. You're literally supporting. You are a traitor to this nation. So, and Trump understands that, and he's got a million more ways to go and hit tariffs. He said he's going to make even more money. That's the funniest part. He's going to keep doing that. And you know what? Let these people continue to go against him. Let's bring them into the spotlight. Let's go see that real car crash of Joe Biden's family back in the day. Let's see who really died in that crash, because no one died. It was a story. It was a story to get him into politics. It was a story to get him sympathy. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting way to get attention. But that's what these people do. They're disgusting people. These are hideous people. And I want to call them out on their lies. I want to get the Supreme Court. Let's talk about John Roberts' adopted children. Let's have that conversation. What's going on there? Right? I want to talk about John Roberts today. I want to talk about Sotomayor. Sorry.
No, it's cool.
I get passionate about it.
You're kind of fired up there. I wasn't sure if you were going to keep going, but yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you know, in terms of the massive market manipulation that we saw. So let's go back to time is always kind of hard for me to gauge at this point, because like I said, so many things happen so quickly. We're sort of inundated, but was it probably like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, when we saw the historic spike in price? Was it a month, 2 months, something like that?
Yeah, during the holidays.
Okay, so a couple of months.
I didn't have any time off. Usually I have time off. I didn't have any time off during the holiday. I had to work on Christmas.
Oh, well, I know that, and I actually joked about that with you last time, that Matt and I have this weird metaphysical ability to move the market every time we do a show. It seems like precious metals always spike.
That's right.
Let's hope that happens
You're
again.
right.
Well, let's go back here. So we did a show a couple months ago, and shortly there, so we saw this historic spike in price with both gold and silver hitting all-time highs, and then we saw probably the most obvious case of market manipulation to drive
$50
down. So can you explain just to everybody out there, and again, I know my audience is very well versed in how they manipulate markets, but just for the benefit of everybody out there, since we're focused on this topic, what exactly occurred there, and why is this so important for people to understand? Now, I happen to believe, I kind of already know the answer, but you're the expert. I want you to lay it out. And I believe this was done specifically to put a spotlight on what the enemy would do if they were actually in control of the financial system, being scripted as a part of the movie to demonstrate this is how they manipulate markets. So what occurred? We saw this historic rise, and then all of a sudden they pulled the rug out. How did they do it, and why is it so important for folks to understand
So
that?
they're creating ounces out of thin air on paper. So the banks can say, here's an ounce of silver. We just, because we're a bank, because we're chartered, right? We're a bank. We have a charter. We can go and we can just create an ounce of silver. Here's your ounce of silver. There it is. But they don't have that silver. Mm-hmm. And what they've done is they've created this, essentially this marketplace of all the silver out there on paper. And they understand that, right? When you have all the supply of it, they can short this position. By keeping the price down, they can make massive amounts of money on the short position. It's like AMC and GameStop stock a couple years ago. Remember that was around this time, like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
These big hedge funds had huge short positions because what's AMC and GameStop? It's like these are dinosaurs. These are relics of the past. You can buy video games on under Xbox if you want to. I don't play Xbox, but I do own one and I understand how it works. But what wound up happening was all these people got together, the story, we'll just use the story. These group of Reddit users got together and they went long and bought all this stock. So now you have all this demand for, only so much stock, and these hedge funds are losing money hand over fist. It's the same story with gold and silver, especially silver, which is they short this position, but the banks have the ability to create all this supply. So all this supply that they don't have,
that isn't actually there.
Yeah. It's just you may as well call whatever silver. They short this stuff, and my real opinion is that I think Trump helped the banks offload this to the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve can take unlimited losses, because what that'll do is that'll help keep the solvency of the banks through this period of time, right? That's just my opinion. I heard that as a rumor, and I believe it to be true, because they would have already crashed the banking system through this uptick in silver. But really what you're watching now is you're watching the separation between the paper price, right? When you look at spot price, like just to give people an idea, I don't pay spot as a dealer. I pay right now probably $12 to $15 over spot for a silver American Eagle. The premiums are getting high. A silver round, I probably pay $3 over spot. I sell them for $4 or $5. Okay, in other words, the spot price is the paper price. It's the derivative price. What we're talking about here is derivatives. You're seeing the paper price separate from the physical price. So they may say at some point here in the next couple weeks, months, whatever, they may slam the price of silver down to $20 again. But as a dealer and my wholesalers that I work with, they're not going to turn around and say, what are we going to do? Take a massive loss when we know this is all paper market? No, we're going to say, hey, this is $120 silver, and your spot price is 40. Well, your price is 120. So you're going to pay that difference as a premium. And that's what's really happening. And what the average person doesn't see is that the premiums are going up. It's going up on rounds. It's going up on bars. It's certainly going up on the coinage. People need to understand that they need to get their hands on this stuff now. Before, if silver hit $300 an ounce, the premium to get it might be another $100. So, okay, $300 silver, it's really $400 silver. Might even be $500 silver. And silver let me tell you something. I talk to the wholesalers. I visit them. I go there and I make it a point. Talk to Eddie Golden. See if they visit the wholesale. I go and visit these people. I take plane rides and I go spend time with them for a day and I pick their brains. Okay. Nobody else out there does that type of stuff. And let me tell you something. They're having a really hard time sourcing this stuff. So if you want silver, get your hands on it now. It's not the price, as we always say. It's my famous quote. It's not the price that's prohibitive. It's going to be your ability to get it. Yep. That's the key.
Unobtainium is what some people are saying about
unobtainium. Silver. Yeah, good old Bix Weir, or good old Boyd Bix.
It's got an incredible utility. That's the other thing. I mean, can you speak on that a little bit about why silver is? I mean, not only just a store of value like gold, but it has a massive industrial demand as well.
Let me tell you something. Silver is, people don't understand silver. And I think I will quote and give credit to Cliff High on this. But Cliff talks about how silver isotope 107 combined with silver isotope 109, when you combine them, you start getting anti-gravitational properties.
Oh, really?
There's something in silver that we don't even I don't fully understand. There's something going on with silver for forget, solar panels, right? I mean, certainly solar panels have they obviously require a tremendous amount of silver, electronics, whatever. There's something even so beyond those conversations that we have to bring up, which is what if we have anti-gravitational craft? What if we have, right, flying cars? This is what's going to bring silver into the realm. I mean, think about it. The 107 with silver. I mean, come on. Talk about something there. I don't know, man.
No, I hear you. I hear you. So what is your and again, this is all speculative. Nobody can hold Matt to this or myself. I mean, we're just having a conversation here, but we saw silver go up to the all-time high price of what was it, 120 something or
it's 120 something, yeah, like 121 or 125.
Yeah, something along those lines. So historic rise in
nothing.
price.
Nothing.
And right now, as I showed just a moment ago, we're at about 84.50 an ounce. Okay, so there's a pretty big what's that, like a $35-40 difference from the all-time high. Long term, well, why don't we just do sort of like short term, medium term, and long term projections about where you think and I know price doesn't matter. It's ultimately whether or not you can source it. Okay, but having said that, no doubt people out there are very curious to get your take on where you think this is headed as far as the price, short term, medium, long term.
In this system, I think we could see several $1,000 silver easily. Mm-hmm. Easily several $1,000 silver. It's a national security issue. I think we'll see $200-300 silver by the summer. Probably $500 to $1,000 silver by this time next year.
All right. So there you have it, folks. You definitely want to make moves while you still have the ability to do so. Now, obviously, if you had gotten into silver back when it was $6 an ounce or $20 an ounce or $30
the good old days. Yeah, the good old days.
You're sitting pretty. That's fantastic. And obviously, I would imagine that those people being big believers in silver would agree with just about everything Matt is saying right now. But for those folks out there who might be a little bit late to the party, or perhaps are considering whether or not now is a good time to increase their investment, I think you have your answer. So we'll come back to this topic a little bit later in the show. And we're going to show you Matt's website. We'll talk about the best ways to get in touch with him.
Just let me just say this, because we did have some people that bought at the 125 levels. Just hang in there. These drops are artificial, and they understand that. Everybody's like, when I spoke to them, it's like, hey, hang in there, don't sell. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get the weak hands out. They're trying to have people panic and say, let me sell. It's like, no, just hang in there. Don't worry about it. You bought a little bit high. It's okay, right? It's going to bounce back, and it's going to bounce back megafold.
Well, isn't it funny too, how that's how human psychology tends to work? It's like when there's a dip, people don't run. And I mean, the smart money does. They go and they run and they buy the dip. It's like,
I'm a therapist too. I'm not a licensed therapist, but I'm a therapist, because I talk to people and I say, it's okay. I bought at those levels, right? Because I take an inventory at those levels. Don't worry. Just hang in there. It's okay. You got your stuff. Relax. It's going to be okay. Trust the plan.
I'm on all sides of the spectrum. I think the quote was, be fearful when other people are greedy, and be greedy when other people are fearful.
Yes.
Along those lines,
exactly right.
So,
exactly.
And the same goes for me. I mean, I bought silver, and I don't have massive positions, but I certainly, I have some precious metals that I bought years ago. So they've just been sitting in my safe for years, but that doesn't mean that I'm not still actively buying silver. And the volatility piece is, again, it's like they say, folks, as long as you believe in the fundamental value and utility of what it is you're investing in, you're golden. I mean, pun intended, you're going to be just fine, and you never lose unless you actually sell. And what Matt just pointed out there is so important for people to remember. Part of this whole strategy here regardless of whether or not you kind of align with my vision that this is all being scripted to expose what the cabal would do, or whether or not you think these forces are actually still at play and this is organically happening. The reality of the matter is that this is the volatility piece. It always comes down to the same basic principle, which is you don't lose unless you sell. And they're trying everything that they can, whether it be optically or whether it be actually real and organic, to shake out the weak hands. All right, so they it's just basic human psychology. They understand when there's a big boom, everybody's running to buy, and then the minute there's a correction and a sell off, people start to panic and they sell because they're afraid it's going to go down to zero. I mean, and I think everybody in this audience understands that that's not going to happen, not even remotely, with gold and silver, as well as some other asset classes that you might be involved in. I got used to the volatility piece when I started getting into to cryptocurrency, particularly XRP,
Oh yeah.
the ones that I'm really bullish on. And I'll tell you, I mean, once you've been through a few different rodeos with that, you learn. Just you don't panic. You just wait. You ride it out. You understand what's at play, and you just cling to that that understanding and belief in the utility of what it is you're investing in. 100%. So, all right, buddy. Well, let's go ahead and pivot here a little bit and talk about what else has been going on here. And I think right up at the top of that list that I wanted to get your take on was Epstein and the files released, because that was massive. That was back on, oh boy, what was it, like January 30th? We're almost a month out from that huge tranche of files that went out. Not even the really hardcore stuff that's on the horizon that's going to come out. And then more recently, the arrest of former Prince Andrew. Could this be the first arrest that Q alluded to? Maybe. So we're going to talk a little bit, I should say, about Israel and about Epstein. These are issues that certainly everybody knows I've been tracking for a very long time, and I've talked to Matt about these as well. So I wanted to explore that in a little bit of detail today. So let's start out with the release of the Epstein files. Certainly a massive amount of information has come out, essentially revealing to the target audience of the movie what we Anons have known for a very long time. Although I would suggest that there are some things in there that even caught me by surprise. I certainly knew about the levels of depravity, but one of the things that was rather surprising to me was the fact that Epstein seemed to be involved in literally everything that was happening around the world, all of these nefarious agendas. He seemed to be a point person, a contact person for all these different individuals out there, pushing transgender ideology, pushing all types of cabal initiatives. So this guy literally had his tentacles in everything. But as far as the bulk of the information that was released, like I said, this was not a surprise to any of us as Anons. However, we have to understand that this is about reaching the target audience of the movie, and we are certainly not that. So I would argue that the scope of Epstein's influence, albeit a puppet of the elites who made him their frontman for this global blackmailing honeypot operation, is indeed much larger than people realize. So what was your overall reaction? I mean, when this came out, it was all over social media for days. People were digging through these millions of pages of files. So what was your overall reaction to that? And then what impact do you think that it's made or it's had on public awakening? And if there was anything in there specifically that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, let's talk to the audience, right? Let's tell the audience, hey, we were right about everything, weren't we? We were exactly right. We knew it years ago. This audience knew. Okay, so let's not get cocky and arrogant, knowing that we're right, because we were right. We were right about everything. Okay, this audience understood. We knew about Prince Andrew. We've been telling people this for years. When are we not? We're going to be right about literally everything. That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
So it should just
Except
tell
for
us.
the timing. Honestly, I would agree with that, except for the timing of when
No one knows
events
the time. Everybody's wrong in the
there's
time. I
always
tried to time
speculation.
stuff. You tried to time stuff early. We were wrong about timing. Timing is not important. It's about being right about child trafficking, child sacrifice, all this crazy stuff that these people are into. I had a friend come to me, one of my very good childhood friends who I maintain a great relationship with, Matt. He's also Matt. He texted me the other day and he says, dude, I've been following the Epstein stuff like no other. And he's like a very like normal guy, just by the book dude, just, Matt is just one of those, just a great guy and just total normie. And he's like, I've been following this Epstein stuff, dude. And let me tell you, the stuff you've been telling me over these years, you should feel vindicated, is what he said to me. Because the stuff I was telling them, as this audience understands with their friends and family and whatnot, these people are starting to see it. I mean, when you start to see Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg on The View have to publicly address the Epstein files, saying, "Oh yeah, we were in it, but yeah, we weren't there," and explaining them. Once people start explaining themselves, it's like, gotcha, gotcha. And I love it, and it's going to continue. It's only going to get worse, and these people are going to be further implicated. We just learned that, and well, we didn't just learn it, but the public just learned that what's her name, Ellen DeGeneres, was one of the pros at child eating children. She was just she was the best at it. I mean, it is disgusting, but we knew it. So it's like it doesn't come to me as a surprise. I'm just glad that sometimes it's nice to know you're in good company with people when they understand the things that you're seeing. It makes you feel less crazy. Because there was a point, and I think you and the audience can agree. It's like sometimes it's like, okay, am I the crazy one? You sit there and you're just like, whoa, like I'm seeing this information, but is it real? But I think it also vindicates the Q. What are they saying?
Preach the truth. Keep going.
Keep preaching. No, it's just a great look for us. I hope it brings. I hope you have your own news network. Somebody like you should have your own news network because at the end of the day, like my goal is to buy New York Times at 2 cents on the dollar and hand it off to you, and you can go start a news organization under the New York Times. Because at the end of the day, we have been so proven right, and many of us have been felt to just be like we've been ostracized. We've been excommunicated from whatever social circles. And now it's like it's all coming to roost. So I would just tell people this is like, just stay humble. Just keep your wits about you. Even I think we're going to be surprised with a lot of the stuff coming out.
I agree.
That's what I think. To your question, I think that's what the Epstein files represents. I think Epstein was in control of a lot more things than we realized. Is he Satoshi behind Bitcoin?
Well, he certainly financed the development of Bitcoin. That was one of the major aspects of the files that came out, and that preceded the massive drop in crypto as well. It's still ongoing, but we won't get into all that. Certainly, Epstein had like I said, he had his tentacles in just about everything, and that was one area where I didn't fully appreciate the scope. I mean, I knew that he was a front man. I knew that he is an intelligence asset, excuse me, for Mossad, for CIA, worked for various different governments, etc. Knew that he worked for the Rothschilds and he was essentially their puppet. But the degree to which, the files are revealing this guy was literally involved in just about everything. And what's gradually starting to I think penetrate the consciousness of the public is, the first aspect of it is the shocking elements like the eating of children, the pedophilia. And what we've seen so far is basically just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, don't get me wrong, the files are very graphic in terms of what they're putting out there. And by the way, it's now what was relegated to the fringes of conspiracy theory, quote unquote, for years and years. Everything that Matt talked about that we were right about is now it's documented. It's verifiable truth. People cannot they can't deny it. They can't say that it's a conspiracy theory if they've actually read and looked into the Epstein files. Now, having said that, the white hats are continuing to allow the normies to let this like penetrate their consciousness and marinate for a little while before they add on the next layers. And I would make the argument that as far as the true horrific, shocking things that are going to come out, we haven't seen any of that stuff yet. And they're just really getting warmed up here. There's an investigation that's been launched into the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, where he had the baby, the baby factories and all that type of stuff. And we've got more and more information coming out, and it seems like it's just going to be the same process of continuing to ratchet up the tension. We've got the Clintons being deposed in just a matter of days at this point. So, more information is going to come out on that front. And as far as Prince Andrew, I was a little bit shocked to hear that. I don't know if you knew about the symbolism with his arrest. That I shouldn't say shocked to hear, but I was kind of like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That he was arrested. We all know on his 66th birthday, right? But he was also arrested by six. Let me see if I can bring this up here so people can see. He was arrested on his 66th birthday by six different police officers. Exactly 600.
That part. That's great.
Yeah, exactly 666 days. Do you remember this? Do you remember when the blood-soaked royal horse was escaping and running through the street?
Running down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, April 24th of 2024. And at the time, we knew that
Didn't even hear that. That's amazing.
So 666 days. Unbelievable. On his 66th.
Who's in control? Who's in control? Come on, tell me who's in control.
This is just exhibit, 7,717. Why I believe that we are watching a scripted movie. And you'll recall that Epstein himself, how old was he when he supposedly killed himself? He was roughly 66. Well, he was 66 and a half, just about 66.6 years old when that all played out. Absolutely amazing. So pretty incredible. Anything along those lines as far as the royal arrest of the former prince? Some people are indeed making some speculations that this might have been what Q was talking about when he said that the first arrest will verify action and confirm future direction. I was talking with Dave from News Treason about this a couple days ago, and we both agreed. It seems to me like this was a major indicator of action and a confirmation of future direction. I don't know if this is the first arrest that we've all been waiting for. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's what you said. I think it's all scripted. Everything's just playing out, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. We knew about Prince Andrew in 2020. So we could be watching his arrest from 2020 for all we know. Mm-hmm. Right? This could have just been covered up for the last 5-6 years. I totally trust Trump. I totally trust what he's up to. I think our audience has been absolutely vindicated. This is what it's about, and it's going to ramp up. You're going to start seeing, Richard Branson on the island next to Epstein Island. You're going to start seeing all these guys, and they're going to do it strategically. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I think this arrest, your take on it is 100% verifiably true.
Well, I do believe that what you said. I mean, everything that we're watching right now is a replay of what already occurred. There's not really a question in my mind anymore as to the fact that we're
Art of the Deal. Just read Art of the Deal. I encourage everybody to go out there, buy a copy of Art of the Deal, read it. Okay, because not only does it give you great insights into Trump's real estate projects, but it gives you insights into how he thinks. And he never walks into a deal without total leverage. He would never have taken on this job in the first place if he didn't know that we were going to win this. We were going to get these guys.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's quite interesting because there's been a lot of talk since the Epstein files were released about, and everybody, the target audience of the movie is demanding arrests, demanding accountability. Where's the Department of Justice? What's Pam Bondi doing? Yeah. Why haven't we had any arrests?
It's got to come from us. It's got to come from us. We have to demand it. Where we go one, we go all, right? We have to demand it. We're already sitting here. This audience, you, me, we're sitting here demanding this stuff. We got to get, our neighbors and the people that are still, think Joe Biden was president over the last 4 years. We got to get them to demand. That's why the Epstein stuff's so important. It's like you need to get these normies on board with what these people are up to. And as Q said, children will unite the world. And that's what's going to come down to. And people are learning about it. And like I said, my friend Matt, total normie, thought I was crazy for years, but he was always cool about it. Which I appreciate you, Matt, if you're watching. But totally normie type of guy. But now he's like, yeah, I've been following this stuff like I'm watching, like I'm watching a football team. People are watching this stuff down to like they want to see the truth. And I think that desire for truth in people is starting to come out. That's what I think the Epstein files have really done, which is phenomenal. I see what Trump's doing, and it's great.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of the whole movie, right? That's really what this is all about. It's manufacturing that outrage that is necessary. You got to piss people off. That's the best way to motivate people to demand that we have justice and accountability. By the way, justice and accountability that's already occurred behind the scenes years ago. Again, this is all a replay. Okay. And my audience knows this very well. But when we talk about the movie, we're talking about the optics and how this is affecting the target audience of all the normies out there, whether they be on the left or whether they be on the right. There's all these demands here, and rightly so, for justice, for arrests, for perp walks, accountabilities, executions, etc. And we have our own DOJ, telling us that there's really nothing to investigate. Meanwhile, all of these files, millions and millions of pages, talking about selling babies, talking about eating children, talking about outright rape and torture. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on and on. It's the most incredible example of gaslighting that we've probably ever seen. You hear Todd Blanche saying that there's nothing to investigate here. We're moving on. And even the president, who of course is doing this for tactical reasons as well, saying, the country, we really need to move on to more important things. Right? They know exactly what they're doing. But with Prince Andrew, what I think is interesting is, there's been this question about, well, why is our DOJ, why does our president, why does this administration seem to want to kind of cover this up? And again, everybody knows that I don't believe that they're actually doing that. They're creating those optics. But then we look across the pond and we see that this is being taken much more seriously in Europe, and the consequences are rolling out much faster across the pond over in Europe than they are here in the US. And if you can arrest a former prince, I mean, that means essentially that it's open. You can arrest anyone. Yeah, it's open season on anybody. So, and this is what they're doing, though. They're playing the public like a fiddle, all for good reason, in order to get people more and more angry and demanding that justice takes place, that manufactured consent that we all talked about. And meanwhile, we've got the mainstream media continuing to discredit itself in the process, running this whole Savannah Guthrie psyop, wall-to-wall flooded zone coverage. Like, it's like the only thing that matters in the world is this kidnapping case, while we have this tranche of 3 million plus documents that have come out exposing the elite across the world of being engaged in the most horrific crimes against humanity. I mean, this is, if we were living in the real world, folks, this would be the biggest story in the history of the world. And yet you've got mainstream media wanting to slam the Savannah Guthrie psyop or whatever other psyop of the day. But that happened to be the one that they chose in the process to create this smokescreen. And it's having the effect, of course, of breaking down the programming of all the normies out there, because this stuff is unavoidable. Most people go to X for their news, and even if they don't, they're on social media. Like the statistics all prove this, really, and it shifts depending upon the age demographic. But if you're like 50 or under, you're getting pretty much all of your information online. And you go online, you go on TikTok, you go on X, and even to a degree, Instagram and Facebook threads, things along those lines. I mean, I'm not on those, but my wife is, and she tells me this stuff is everywhere. And so there's this juxtaposition of what people are being exposed to online. They're seeing all of this horrific stuff come out, and nothing being done about it. Again, on the surface, and then and then they're watching CNN talk about, basically ignoring, and MSNBC and ABC, all the legacy networks, essentially ignoring this entire story. So that's
I
huge
mean,
as well.
who would have thought Stephen Colbert, right? You seen the video with him with the little boy, that little boy who went missing. Such a sick and
God, I can barely watch that one. I hate that. And that's nothing that's what I'm saying. That's nothing in comparison to the stuff that's going to be coming out. But
who would have thought? Who would have? Here you are watching this, late night or late night host, comedian type. He's involved in it, and that's what people are starting to realize. It's like, wait a minute, it's all these people. It's all these people. I heard that. Just on a side note, I heard that Trump found. Remember Natalie Holloway, who went missing in the 2000s?
Oh, the girl in Aruba.
In Aruba, exactly.
Yeah,
I heard. That, yeah. I heard the White House found her.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be. I mean, if you're somebody our age or older,
I hadn't heard about that in a long time. Natalie Holloway.
I heard they found her in his first term.
Like found her body?
No, found her alive. Got her out of whatever trafficking, hell that she was involved in. Wow. I heard, yeah. So I mean, when the white hats need proof, you're going to have Natalie Holloway, which is
one of many examples, I'm sure of. I've always anticipated that they've got these cards up their sleeve, shall we say? The biggest one, of course, being
the only court that matters is the court of public opinion. That's the court. That's the court that's going to rule at the end of this.
That's right.
And when you factor that in, you're going to need situations like that in order to really sway the public, right? Because where we go one, we go all. We're going to have to all internalize this and accept this as a reality, and it's not going to be easy for a lot of people, including myself. I have some understanding of it. You have some understanding of it. This audience has some understanding of it. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be exposed to. That brace yourself, buckle your chin strap, and get ready, because this is going to be the biggest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. You laid out a lot of important points there, but this is, and I've said this really, I'm coming up on 5 years next month. And I can honestly say since the very beginning, I've told people that once we really get to the eye of the storm, and again, I thought we were going to be there in 2021, 2022, 2023. Okay. I recognize that. And just like just about everybody else out there. I mean, nobody back in 2021 or 2022 was talking about what was going to be happening or the movie optics in 2026. We all thought it was going to be over by then. But the one thing I've said consistently, or one of the things I've said, is that when we go through the eye of the storm, regardless of how much we've been prepared for it, we are the pre-awakened. We have exposed ourselves to this horrific material, certainly to a much greater degree than anybody else. But that being said, the stuff that's going to come out is going to be so horrific. And it's sort of a separate question there about how much they're actually going to reveal. That's a whole separate segment in terms of debating all that. But regardless of how far they go, whatever they do reveal is going to be so deeply disturbing.
I'm worried about senior citizens, like my neighbor Rudy right here. Rudy's just turned 80, and I feed him some of this stuff. Him and his wife Charlotte, and I try to feed him some of this stuff. Rudy just comes to my house, he just lets himself in, which is fine. I love Rudy. But I tell him some of this stuff, and I think they're starting to see it with the news cycle. I think, he's watching Fox News, and that's fine. But, I worry about them because they're older. And if they hear about, some of this stuff's verified that, people are eating children, they could go and have a stroke or a heart attack. And I worry about those people, the seniors of society, where if they start hearing about this information, like they have to be led into this very, very carefully, because
Well,
Trump is literally
Yeah,
Trump will literally kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people just from the shock of what's going to come out. And and when you start thinking about Trump's role in this and just how delicate he has to play it, it's like, take your time, do what you got to do. I'm in no rush, right? We're sitting here, we're alive, we're having a good show. We're good. Everybody just go about your lives, go do stuff you like to do. And if you need gold and silver, call me.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and what you just described, really, my parents, who, by the way, don't even know what I do. That's how ideologically separate we are, or we're just completely
Okay.
at odds
Yeah.
in terms of how we see the world. And it was always an easier decision for me to just, I felt like I would be freer to be able to do what I wanted to do and what I felt like I needed to do, and just keep it separate from my relationship with them. But they're both in their 80s, and they are about as deeply brainwashed. I mean, they're from that hippie generation, back in the 60s. They're the classic boomers who are completely brainwashed, and they
Say with my
only
parents. Yeah.
watch mainstream media. And I've been thinking to myself all along, how is it? Yeah, and as people are saying in the chat, seniors are some of the toughest stock on the planet, things like that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. I'm definitely not disagreeing with you. But for people who really haven't been exposed to these horrors and continue to only watch mainstream media, and they're not even dipping their toe in terms of all of this other information that's coming out. I tend to agree with you that there's a part of me that, and understanding full well that's primarily the reason that they're going at such a slow pace, like you just laid out there. They have to get people as prepared as humanly possible in order to face these realities. But Q told us that the full picture would put 99% in the hospital, and a lot of people would never recover from that. And I would even argue that a lot of folks out there who are saying, just put it all out there, everything, full disclosure. And I've been one of those at certain points as well.
Me too. Yeah.
But the reality of the matter is that be careful what you wish for, because I mean, when you see some of these things, and I've seen some things that, quite frankly, I don't even talk about because they're so horrific, and I just can't even go there. Once you see these things, they leave a permanent imprint, and that you can never ever unsee them. You're not going to be the same person after. And for people who have not been thoroughly prepared for that, I mean, even for us, it's going to be difficult enough, but it's going to be life threatening. This information, and I think that's what Matt was kind of getting at here. Life threatening for people. Just the shock, and I mean, we're talking about a level of evil that the normal brain can't even really comprehend. And this is why they're going at that slow pace. But having said that, this stuff is getting out there more and more to a wider audience. I'm sure you saw the clip of Bill Maher saying that he needed to he'd like to give what he calls QAnon, which of course we know doesn't exist, but he wants to give QAnon an apology. That was a big moment, quite frankly, because Bill Maher is a major character.
If you look, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to make this quick point. But if you look at the February 1997 George issue, right, the Survival Guide to the Future, right, indictment day, will Hillary get busted? One of the things on the front cover is can Bill Maher make it in the big time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and he's been all over this, by the way. And there's been a lot of question about Bill Maher, because we know that he had his production company. It was called Kid Love Productions. He was
the Red Shoes.
The Red Shoes. He was mentioned in the Q drops. But one of the things we have to always consider here is like, oh, is this individual somebody who was deep cover all along? Was he somebody who was swapped out? Was he somebody who was put under submission? I don't know. Okay, we can speculate about all that all day long, but the reality is that Bill Maher, as a vessel of information, is bringing this to a massive, massive audience. And by the way, he's not alone in this. But I just wanted to play this, just kind of set this up, because this was Lauren Boebert, who was on his show just the other day, and listen to what they were talking about, and consider Bill Maher's audience, okay, and the people that are being exposed to this information.
I apologized to QAnon a couple of weeks ago. I said, when it comes to this Epstein stuff, you had it righter than me. Now, they also believe a lot of real batshit nonsense. But when
now you think it's batshit,
they don't eat babies. Democrats don't eat babies. You think they eat babies?
There is a lot of consumption talk in the stuff. Now, if there are other babies, I don't know. No, you can laugh all you want. But I mean, there is some sick stuff in here that is implying.
But that's not eating babies.
Maybe,
come on.
I'm not saying they're eating babies. I'm saying there is talk of consumption, and it ain't pizza. And I'm not saying that I am QAnon by any means, but this is deep, dark, satanic, awful, sacrificial, and this stuff is gross.
See, this is what I'm saying. Here I am sacrificing myself, saying, you know what, I was wrong, QAnon, and then you don't meet me halfway. You insist they might be eating babies.
I just think there's some questionable stuff.
Here's what it is. QAnon said there's this vast elites around the world conspiracy to, traffic kids and pedophiles, and they were more right than I thought they were. Okay, so that's what I'm giving you. And it wasn't just Prince Andrew in the parlor with the dildo, okay?
I mean, this is huge, man. I don't even know if I can possibly put this into the proper context here. You got Bill Maher, I mean, literally seeding all of these ideas to his audience. The fact of the matter is that if anybody who's looked at the files knows, they're talking about jerky. They're talking about pizza. They're talking about grape soda. They're using all of these code words. And in some cases, overtly talking about buying children, eating children, etc. So it's all there. And you've got Bill Maher coming out and saying, well, I was wrong about the pedophilia, and I was wrong about the trafficking and this and that. And it wasn't just Prince Andrew. So he's laying all these truth bombs out, but he's saying, but you guys won't meet me halfway. They were not eating children. And it's like, what effect does this have on his audience and the people out there? They're going to now go and investigate this more. They're going to look into it for themselves. I mean, and that's the other thing. If Bill Maher was wrong the first time, it's like you were wrong about everything initially when you called this a crazy conspiracy. And now here you are, apparently haven't read the files, haven't really looked into them all that much, because if you did, you would know that what Loran Boebert is saying is absolutely true. And this is just incredible. Your comments on that?
Oh, it's an unintended consequence of what he's saying, right? So now he's getting people to look into it. And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. I've always put weight into the Survival Guide to the Future. I think everybody out there should go buy a copy. They're expensive. I can help you find one if you need some help. Just give me a call. I'll do it for you for free. But buy a copy of the Survival Guide to the Future, because that is a clue left in time. And I think everything's now tying together. You're seeing, I have a certain lens. I've looked through the George magazine lens for a long time. And I would suggest everybody get into those magazines. Go watch Rachel Rightside Blonde. We'll give Rachel a plug on the show. Rachel does phenomenal work about explaining these magazines from the 1990s. She has our lens. She's got the lens of this audience and us. And she does incredible interpretations from those 1990s magazines. But I think, Bill Maher is bringing this stuff into the spotlight, which now would suggest I heard about that clip, but I didn't watch it. So thank you for pulling that up. But
and this type of stuff is everywhere, by the way.
It would seem to me that Bill Maher is working for the White Hats. That's what that clip means. No question about it. No question about it.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that we all know the way that the cabal operated in terms of information. They would never, if they didn't want you to look into something, they wouldn't talk about it.
Exactly.
They would ignore it. They would memory hole it. They would bury it. And the only time they would ever actually even bring it up is if that tactic wasn't working and more people were actually, like with Q, for example. That's what the media's initial response with Q was to just simply ignore it until it got too big and they couldn't ignore it anymore. And then they started to attack it. And so what they're doing is they're basically, the White Hats are using all of the tactics of the enemy in order to red pill a much wider audience. And we've seen this process on with multiple different individuals, media figures like, I mean, Elon, obviously, Joe Rogan, and now we've got, the characters on the left side of the spectrum with Bill Maher and John Oliver and the Young Turks. I mean, so they kind of have like this pincer attack where they're all drawing more and more and more attention to this issue, and it has the effect ultimately of getting people to look into it for themselves and be able to discover the truth behind it. And I'll tell you, I've heard just the other day, I was talking about this with Dave. I was standing in line to get coffee at the same place I go every morning. And there were probably like 7 or 8 high school kids in there. We're talking, they were, I don't know how old they were, but they were, I would say 15, 16, 17 years old. And they're literally, and I'm listening to them having a conversation about the Epstein files, having a conversation about
That's
jerky.
awesome.
Like, they were literally talking about what the code
So
word
encouraging.
of
It's so
jerky was.
encouraging.
And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God." I mean, now I haven't had anybody personally in my life come up to me like you described, and start asking me questions or anything along those lines. I'm still waiting for that to happen. It hasn't happened yet. But when I look at the barometers of awakening, of the mass awakening, and you start to hear over conversations where people are asking each other questions about the Epstein files and cannibalism and jerky and pizza and grape soda and adrenochrome. I mean, they were literally, I heard one of the kids actually say, adrenochrome, what is that? And the other one said it's when they drink blood. Now he didn't say adrenalized blood and child torture and all that stuff. But again, if this is penetrating the consciousness of like 15-year-old kids, you can only imagine what this is doing writ large across the world. And again, we know that there's going to be 4 to 6% who are just far too brainwashed. They're never going to accept the truth. Unfortunately, I think that probably would apply to some of the people in my life. But nevertheless, this is huge, man. This is absolutely amazing. And like I said, we've really only seen just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what else is going to come out. And you can only imagine when they start to do the investigation or reenact the investigation into Zorro Ranch, what they're going to find there. Like I said, the Clinton Foundation. I mean, Bill and Hillary are going to be deposed. Clinton Foundation is going to come into the spotlight. Haiti's going to come into the spotlight. The Wiener laptop, and we're just off to the races at that point. And so this is just absolutely amazing. So, any other comments you wanted to make on Epstein or on this subject?
I think everybody gets it.
Cool. All right, brother. Well, let's talk just a little bit about Israel. Okay. Now, this is something that I don't know. Did you happen to watch any of the clips of the Tucker Carlson interview with Mike Huckabee or see any of it?
I saw some of the clips. Very, very few. I watched them last night. I saw him in full-blown denial, which is scary because Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I'm a really big fan of. And I thought she was Trump's press secretary in the most difficult time of his administration, which was his first couple of years. So it's going to be very difficult for me to want to address, what she could potentially be involved in, because she was there when, they were making threats again, don't let Maxine Waters, don't let if you see them at a restaurant, confront them. And they were, and it actually wound up happening. By the way, I also ran into Maxine Waters in LA and confronted her.
Did you? All right. Well, you know what, man?
I told her that JFK Jr. was looking for her.
All right. Well,
she got scared.
Let's go ahead and watch just a couple of clips here. I have like, I don't know, 4 of them or whatever, but we'll just go ahead and play some of the content of this interview, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, because at the end of the day, and this kind of builds off of the interview that Tucker did with Ted Cruz. You remember that one where he basically exposed Ted Cruz's lack of knowledge about the Bible and this whole idea that the Jews have an inherent right to this land. But Huckabee took it to such an extreme that it actually caused international backlash. I don't know if you'd heard about that, but we'll talk about it in a minute. So let's go ahead and in no particular order here. Let's see what we got. All right, so this is that one. I just want to. Okay, so this first clip, he's talking about Americans putting their lives on the line for Israel. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Okay, I don't know what just happened there. I think I had like multiple clips playing at the same time. Sorry about that. So let's go. Let's take a look at this one. This is him trying to get Mike Huckabee to explain exactly where this idea of like the right to that land going back into interpretations of the Bible. So let's watch this one.
In the entirety of the world, there are about 16 million Jews total. And 8 million of them live here. The rest live mostly in New York or South Florida and a few other places.
Okay.
So this is a small population of people. They have connection to this land historically, biblically.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
If Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense?
How do we know
that? Do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
He doesn't. So no one does. That's the point. So how do we know that he has any connection to this land at all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language, the Bible, the land.
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So on what basis does he have a right to be here?
Very much speaks the language. He has fought for the land. His family has fought for the land.
Dodging a very obvious question, which is, where does this right come from? And the reason it's meaningful is because there are a lot of people in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
They're Jewish.
By what definition?
They're Jewish by their
But how do we know they have any connection
They're
to
Jewish
the Jews
by their faith. They're Jewish
Bible?
by the connection to the language. Jewish by the connection to the Torah.
But how do we know that Bibi, specifically Bibi's ancestors, ever lived here? How do we know that?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
How do we know if the Prime Minister of Israel's ancestors ever lived?
Maybe I could ask you, how do we know they didn't? I mean,
well, it's on the basis of the claim that they did that all kinds of things happen. People are displaced. There's a money flow. I mean, it's a big question. A lot hangs on this. It's not some theoretical thing like, oh, did my grandparents do this or do that? It's like, no, we have a right to be here because my ancestors were here. Okay, how do we know they were here?
I'm totally unable to process what you're trying to get at.
Absolutely love that. And then, okay, so but that wasn't the real big one. Okay, so this was a lead in to this clip here, where what he says at the end of this clip is truly amazing, and this is what's caused so much of this backlash. So let me go ahead and share this one. Let's listen to this, about a minute 40 seconds.
You've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be,
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
But this particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis. You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Oh, okay then. All right. So this was absolutely incredible, and it garnered a reaction. I believe it was bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, but there have been essentially pretty much every Middle Eastern country has come out and said that is some of the most wild and crazy and reckless rhetoric coming from a U.S. ambassador, and they're seeking clarification on the U.S.'s position. I mean, this guy's coming out. I mean, the first clip, he couldn't even really I mean, he was trying to play dumb, like he didn't understand what Tucker was asking him about. This whole idea that our entire foreign policy, again, all part of the movie, folks. Okay, but this is the exposure of Israel's influence and control over America. Our entire foreign policy hinges upon this idea of Christian Zionism, that the land of Israel belongs to the Jews, and everything hinges upon this idea of their right to the land. And Huckabee couldn't even answer that question when Tucker was pressing him on it and saying, well, we can prove by DNA testing that the inhabitants of the West Bank, their families have been there for thousands and thousands of years. Unlike people like Netanyahu, the only thing we know is that his family was Eastern European. They lived in Latvia. So he completely dodged the question. And then when he really pressed him on this whole idea of the Greater Israel Project, Huckabee came out and said, yeah, it'd be fine. Just go ahead and take over the entire Middle East. So, I mean, this was crazy. Your reaction?
It's hysterical. I mean, Scott's got a great term for Tucker Carlson. Scott calls Tucker Carlson America's golden retriever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He's an absolute gem. I love Tucker Carlson, man.
I love Tucker.
Let's pray for him, honestly, because we already, we're down Charlie Kirk, again, part of the PSYOP, in my opinion, but we don't want to lose Tucker Carlson.
No, Tucker's
PSYOP or not, and we need him.
Tucker's he's great because he's very he comes from a very rational standpoint where it's not about politics. It's just about, like, okay, what are the facts? What is this? Is the sky blue? Looks blue to me. And then he'll sit there and he'll corner Huckabee and say, look, you're trying to tell me the sky isn't blue. You're running around from the question, is the sky blue? That's what he does. And he's a great interviewer. He's a great intellectual. Huckabee looks like a fool. And it's unfortunate because I like I said, I love Sarah Huckabee. I hope she's not one of them. But unfortunately,
if I was a Christian Zionist, I would stay as far away from Tucker Carlson interviewing him, because apparently Mike Huckabee, and again, I don't have anything personally against Mike Huckabee. I think this is all part of the movie again. But he did not learn any lessons from the Ted Cruz debacle. Tucker Carlson's not a guy that you want to sit down if you don't have a logical argument. And that's exactly what Tucker does so well, is that he knows how to use logic to pick apart the lack of logic in other people's arguments. He's brilliant at doing that.
Perfectly stated.
But this is really what it comes down to, is that in the grand scheme of things, and you think about how many people are watching this interview. I mean, Tucker has millions and millions and millions of followers. It gets amplified in countless different ways across all different media spectrums. People are now engaging with this question more and more and more as the Epstein files are coming out, as all of this information about him being connected to Mossad. And there's actually a clip of Alan Dershowitz that I want to share on that front in just a moment. But all of this information is coming out simultaneously to put a spotlight on this big giant question, which is, why is it that our foreign policy hinges upon these flawed ideas? And Tucker Carlson is just picking them apart. It's incredible.
Let's roll Alan Dershowitz.
What's that?
No, let's roll Alan Dershowitz. That's scumbag.
Okay, yeah. So this one, I don't know if you saw this. And by the way, there's so many other clips from that Tucker interview. I didn't really do it justice. You really should just go and sit down and
watch it. Yeah, I got to watch the whole. I'm going to watch it today, I think.
Yeah, sit down and watch it. And of course, there was the whole story of him getting detained at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel as well, which of course, which was brilliantly scripted, because now everyone, even more people are going to want to go watch the interview, and it's doing exactly what it's intended to do, which is to shine a light on this completely flawed ideology that we have to take all of these actions on behalf of Israel to the detriment of our own country. And there were other segments there where Huckabee was trying to argue that no Americans have ever died for Israel, and Tucker completely picks that apart. He uses Iraq as a prime example of that. But in the interest of time, we'll move along here. And this is a really, really eye-opening clip from Alan Dershowitz. It's about 40 seconds long, but my goodness, this is him and Piers Morgan, and boy, does he say the quiet part out loud with regard to Epstein. So let's go ahead and watch this one.
Could it be that Jeffrey Epstein just had a completely different life that he just did not tell you about? And it may also have included being a spy. I mean, clearly.
Telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Hang on a second. You mean if he said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a pedophile?
That's right.
Boom.
Could it?
Did you see that one?
I didn't see that one. That is incredible. If he would have gone to the president, so he could have bribed the president to do it for him. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So once again, putting the spotlight on Epstein's connections to Mossad, to the CIA, even above that, the Rothschilds, the families that actually control these intelligence agencies, which represent the deep state, as we know. But this is absolutely incredible. I mean, he's making an open admission here that essentially this would be in the character in the category of being above the law. He's connected to, if he's an intelligence asset for Mossad or the CIA. Well, doesn't matter if he's a pedophile. Doesn't matter if he's involved in sex trafficking. Doesn't matter if he's involved in eating children. All things apparently are on the table. You are above the law if you are connected to these agencies. And this is exactly what we've known for such a very long time. But now this is getting out to, again, the masses. Piers Morgan, not a huge fan of Piers Morgan, but I will say this: the man has a pretty massive audience. He has quite a reach. So putting Dershowitz on and getting him to admit that, again, part of the movie, yes, absolutely. The Q drops make it pretty clear that Alan Dershowitz was flipped. He's playing a role in exposing all of this information, but that was quite an eye opener there. Saying the quiet part out loud.
I don't envy the life that Dershowitz has probably had to live with the people he's dealing with. Right. Yeah. Did you see? Reminds me of Lex Wexner when he was having to testify the other day. Remember the lawyer said in his ear, "If you say more than 5 words, we're going to kill you."
Yeah. If you answer another question in more than 5 words, we're going to effing kill you. Yeah, we talked about that, Dave and I, the other day. We did a whole breakdown of Les Wexner's deposition, getting people to ask the obvious question here. I mean, if you're a normie and you're watching this and you're kind of like experiencing that cognitive dissonance, and you listen to what Piers Morgan just made him openly admit, at literally, I mean, if you're an intelligence asset, the rules simply don't apply to you, even if we're talking about pedophilia, even if we're talking about human trafficking and worse than that. My goodness.
This is what it's been. This is what society's been, right? We never knew it. Now we know.
Yeah. But I mean, just imagine the people out there that are processing this stuff for the first time and hearing like, oh my God. And now it makes sense why this went on for such a long period of time, why these people got away with all of these things.
Wakey.
Yep. This is really what it's all about. This is the Great Awakening. It's unfolding all around us. And with Les Wexner, you see supposedly his attorney leaning in and saying that, knowing full well that it was on a hot mic and that everybody was going to hear it.
Exactly.
That's the other thing. And it was like,
they put everything out that they want you to see this stuff. They want you to see it.
It was all professionally lit. The whole thing was it was obviously staged, but it gets people to ask that question. Is this guy, I mean, whose lawyer talks to their client that way, especially somebody like Les Wexner, who's a billionaire, very powerful guy, ostensibly, and one of the most powerful men out there. And this guy's leaning in saying, you better shut the F up and we're gonna kill you.
Kill you.
Getting people to ask the question, is this his lawyer or is this his handler? Like, what's going on here?
It's good, man. It's good. I'm having
Breaking
fun.
down the matrix. It's incredible the way that they're doing it. And you can see how the longer this goes on, I mean, sure, we get frustrated and we want to fast forward the movie and all that stuff. But the longer this goes on, the more you come to appreciate the genius of how they're doing it and how they're red pilling people and making it appear to be an organic process for them so that they can win the hearts and minds, which is so vital, like we just talked about, as opposed to what we all wanted back in 2000, 2020, 2021. We all wanted them to just kick in the door and, just dump the truth all over society and let the chips fall where they may. Certainly would not have worked. This is a much more painstaking process, but it's meticulous. It's being done with military precision, and it's leading us gradually out of the dark into the light. So it's beautiful.
Amen.
Lots of stuff happening, man. And like, that poster behind you, 2020 is not over yet. Of course, things are heating up on that front. We're going to get more information, I'm sure, out of Fulton County. They've already done the raid there. There's been a lot of speculation about Arizona being the next major target as well. Christy Nolan was there not too long ago. John Solomon's been talking about it. So this whole thing is about to blow wide open, man. And I don't think it's going to be, I mean, who knows what the timeline is going to be. It seems like we're really getting into that, like we've crossed the Rubicon type of territory here. So very, very exciting. Well, all right. So we've been on now for about an hour and a half. And I think what we can kind of do is come back full circle here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you just to talk about how folks can get in touch with you. I'm actually I have a banner here with the number on it that I'll just put on the screen so everybody can see.
Just call, email me. You can text me. Sometimes I get really busy. Right now we have a huge demand, and I know some people have called and I hadn't gotten back to them and whatnot. And I apologize for that, but it's just the best thing you could do would be call. If you don't reach me or one of my staff, shoot me a text. We can go over everything A to Z. We do the retirement account stuff. We do the, physical inner possession stuff, or both, right? We can set up an LLC and put your IRA gold and silver in your possession, right? You can store it wherever you want. But I think what's going to happen here is with more exposure, it's all corruption, right? Our whole system, as we know, it's built on fraud. Right? Everything out there the banking system is complete fraud. And that's the reality, right? We can accept it or we can't, right? This audience obviously, I think, accepts that. We can get your retirement money into the physical metals. I like coin. You don't have to do coin. You can do bar. Bar is a little bit cheap. As a matter of fact, I'm starting to do a little bit hybrid stuff because Eagle premiums are starting to get a little bit high. So we could do rounds or whatever. But get your hands on this stuff. You see what's coming. A wise man sees trouble and moves out of the way. That's the expression. So I would just tell people, it's like, you see what's going on, give me a call. We'll set you up right. We'll do it at the right price. We'll give you the best insights. And thanks to everybody from this show that's come on board. I mean, it's been unbelievable. You guys have been just, I have the dream job, man. I get to talk to Patriots all day and do their gold and silver for them. I mean, these are the best people. We're friends. If you're in town, if you're in Arizona, come by my office. My office is on 75th and Bell Road, right here in Glendale. Come by, come say hi. I want to meet you guys. Let's go out to lunch. Let's go hang out. I do a lot of events. I do a lot of parties. You guys are all welcome. We're a big Patriot family, and I don't take this for granted. I want to help people. You go to these other jokers out in Los Angeles. Let me tell you something. They're going to go take your money. I don't want your money. I want my little commission, and I want to walk away and have you have nothing but good things to say. I'm one of you. You know, that's what I tell people. I'm one of you. I'm no different. You know, if there's a way we can help your business, you know, we'll help. We'll do whatever we can. But I just want to thank everybody that's come through. It's, you know, it's an honor. It's honestly, it's, you know, it's amazing. And thank you.
Well, thank you, man. I mean, you're doing well by my audience, and ultimately, you know, from our very first conversation, and you knew that that was the most important thing to me. And listen, the reality of the matter is that my audience in particular has an incredible ability to discern, and people know. I mean, especially anons who have been tuned in and been paying attention to everything that's been happening. It doesn't take long. If somebody's putting out BS or somebody's trying to create some sort of false facade, people pick it apart instantly. And the opposite of that is true with Matt. The longer I've known him, it hasn't been very long. It's been several months at this point. Feels longer somehow. But the longer I know him, the more I see the type of comments that I shared today in the chat. People are, you know, these are real people saying, you know, we've done business with Matt. We love him. He's great. And that really is the ultimate barometer for me, because the fact of the matter is, if we were trying to blow smoke with you guys, I mean, it would have dissipated long ago. People would have gotten the word out that, you know, that Matt wasn't who he said he was and all these types of things. The reality is it's just the opposite. More and more positive feedback keeps flooding in. And the ultimate compliment really is when people come back as repeat customers, which is truly amazing. And we've had a very high volume with my audience. So I'm really, really excited about that. And hopefully it will continue. Hopefully our ability to move the market will prove true yet again. Of course, we say that jokingly, obviously, but we seem to have pretty good luck after we do a show with getting the market's moving in the right direction. So we'll see what happens. But like we said a little bit earlier, the most important thing is like knowing that you're investing in, quite frankly, it really is a no-brainer. And when it comes to gold and silver, this is ultimately where you want to be. I've been saying that now for years. Yeah, somebody just put this is a great comment. Yep, Patriot Underground. We are professional BS monitors. That's a great way. That's kind of what I was saying. Exactly. There. The audience knows, man. They know when they hear BS, but
they know.
On the flip side, they also know when they're dealing with somebody who's honest. And Matt certainly
Thank you.
So with that said, we will kind of wind this thing down. It was revealed on Dave's show the other day. I was talking to him privately, and he mentioned it on his Friday night show. I am going to be joining Matt and Joe and Scott and several other people in Texas in just a few weeks' time for Threadfest #3. So I'm really, really excited about that. Matt, I have to tell you, he just kind of rolled out the red carpet for me and made it so that I basically couldn't say no. I was like, you know, you're putting me up. He's flying me out there. So I just wanted to thank you publicly for that and just say that I'm really looking forward.
We have an awesome Airbnb. We're going to bring the party to us, right? Yeah. Everybody's at the hotel. We have an awesome Airbnb with views and whatnot. So that's how we're going to do it. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah. So if you're going to be in the Dallas area, folks, and you're interested in this event and meeting me and Matt and so many other great truthers in the movement, definitely highly recommend that you purchase some tickets for that. I don't have the link in front of me right now, but I know it's Threadfest 3 and it's being held in Dallas. I think I want to say Lakeview or something like that, but it's, if you just Google Threadfest 3 tickets.
And I think the VIP sold out, but who cares? Oh, yeah. We'll make you VIP. Don't even worry about it. The VIP is just it's the reason why it sold out is because it's a paid for dinner.
Yeah, just right.
Come meet us. We'll be there. You're going to be VIP without the dinner.
Yeah, right. And I don't really know quite what to expect. I was talking to Dave about it a little bit. He said that, I mean, Patrick Gunnels, who's a friend of mine as well, he's running the event. And he said that Patrick wanted to kind of do like stations where he was going to have different podcasters and truthers and, you know, people in the community at different tables. And it would almost be like speed dating where, you know, you get to sit with the group for a certain amount of time, ask questions, have a conversation,
right.
And then people will
move on.
Fun. I don't know what to expect. This is my first public appearance, so it's going to be a little bit little bit different for me, but I've been building up to this for a very long time, and it's going to be my first opportunity to meet a lot of the people out there who are listeners of the show. And I can't tell you, I mean, I'm so excited about that, and being able to meet my colleagues like Matt and Joe and Scott and Dave and Patrick and Rambo. And there's probably going to be several other people that I'm not even mentioning right now. So it should be a great time. And that's the weekend of, what is it? The weekend of March 20th, I believe.
Yeah, the weekend. I think it's the 20th and the 21st.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So with that said, folks, make sure you contact the great Matt Geiger. This guy is really absolutely amazing. You will not be disappointed. And, just, make your moves. Do it now. Buy the dip, folks. Like we said, this is not the time to shy away from an opportunity. Matt gave you his long-term predictions about where we're headed with silver in particular. Likewise,
even if it's to say hi, give me a call and say hello, and just chat out from the show.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love about you, man. You make yourself available to the audience. You're
always, man. These are our people. These are the world's best people. We got to take care of them.
Yeah, right. And just to kind of underscore Matt's point, because I've had some people write to me and say, "Oh, I've tried to contact Matt a couple times, and listen, he's really busy, but he will get back to you."
I apologize. Yeah, just
will get back to you.
Call the 888 number. Go on the website, book an appointment on Zoom. I apologize. It's just all day. It just gets crazy. And believe me, I want to talk to you. Like I don't care what size piece of business it is. I don't care if it's 1 silver ounce. I want to talk to you. So I apologize. And we actually brought on some additional help, so we should be able to handle anything right now. So.
Excellent. Yeah, but it's worth waiting for. Okay. That's the thing. I mean, nothing in life worth having comes easy. And if you really want to get that professional advice and you want to get the best possible entry price, Matt's the guy you want to talk to. So, just be patient, but understand this is a long-term investment and you're in really good hands. So we're going to leave it there, folks. I'm going to be back. I can't believe it's Sunday. I'm going to be back tomorrow night with the great Mike King. And then later next week, I'm going to be returning as a guest on Jeff Spike Wong's show on Red Pills TV. That's Josh Reed's channel. Jeff works with Josh, and they do amazing work over there. Yeah, so he had me on. I think it was maybe a couple of months ago now. We had a great conversation, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then next weekend, we actually are going to be doing, my good friend Maestro and I, we decided we're going to be doing a podcast the last Saturday of every month to just sort of do a review of everything that occurred during that past month. And boy, we really got our work cut out for us for February. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great show.
So just stay tuned, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We had a really great audience today. We love all of you folks. Call Matt Geiger at Verity Metals, and we will be back soon, folks. God bless. Godspeed. Patriot out.
God bless. Thank you.